So you know those color by number things that you used to do when you were a kid? You know, you take an image, a black and white image, and following the instructions, you kind of turn it into this what an art piece. A lot of them are absolutely fantastic. Well, the other night I woke up at like 1 o'clock in the morning with this idea that I just couldn't let go, and it was, what if I could use the same concept on parts of my life that weren't so great, and I could use that to kind of figure out how to improve them. I think that it was something that really sparked a passion, and I came up with the idea. And like I said, I couldn't sleep for the night. It was a rough day at work the next day, but I worked through the night, got this concept done, and I think it's something that really worked out. It helped me figure out the flaws and what I consider one of the biggest upsets, I guess, downsides in my life, which is my dating life currently. And it's something I use to examine and hopefully find out solutions to a lot of the problems I have in the dating world. So I'm going to do this, and I do advise you to kind of do the same, see what you come up with parts of your life that you feel like you could work on. Take each number and kind of figure out how it's factoring into that part of your life. And what I did is I thought about going from 0 to 100, just running as fast as I could, but 100's a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it from 0 to 10. I think that's a lot more understandable, it's a lot more realistic, and it won't make for a 2-hour video. So I guess here we go. Let's start out with 0. There are 0 girls that I've dated that don't dislike me, that it's still possible for me to talk to, for 100 different reasons. But if I'm being honest, the truth is I feel like I'm a good boyfriend. I think I am. But at the end of the day, I am a horrible ex-boyfriend. Clearly. I do get kind of clingy and a little attached, and it's hard for me to let go sometimes, because to me, if a door's not closed, if it's just a little bit open, then that's hope. So a lot of times I've ruined those relationships on purpose. Sometimes it was more accidental, but regardless, I can't go to anyone I've dated, long term or short term, and ask why they think it didn't work out. I can never get a second opinion. So at the end of the day, I've only got my side of the story, and that's never the full story. I definitely have my own view on things, and a lot of that's probably not correct. No breakup is mutual, but I can't have those conversations with those people to figure that one out. So I'm kind of on my own there. And on to number 1. I have one evil ex. Now, I will never do names or anything like that, so for the moment, let's just call her Satan. It's the best name that I've got, because she was constantly trying to put me through my paces and keep me just emotionally distressed, using a million excuses for why she did the things she did. And again, it's something that I really should just make a whole video about exactly what she did. There was a lot more to it than I'm going to get into. She made me feel like less of a human being and more like an object that was just there when she needed to feel better. And then when she felt great, then God was telling her that we shouldn't be together, which leads us into number 2. She always told me that I was too skinny, too loud in public, too emotional, too dramatic. My opinions weren't valid whenever they were against her. She also told me that my art projects were not worth pursuing, that they were so bad that no one would ever be interested in them, and that's kind of what led to these vlogs. The Art of Pointless Existence would have been a very, very different project if not for her. It would have been, in my opinion, a comic strip, but I did not pursue those because I let her get into my head and tell me that I was not good enough to do that. Number 3, I have had 3 serious relationships in my life. 3 long-term, not even necessarily long-term, just 3 people that I would call exes in my life. I've dated a lot. I've had a lot of hookups, just one date, one and done situations, but I've had 3 people that I felt like really made an impact on me, and that's not necessarily a lot of experience. I get frightened off easily when things start to get serious because none of those worked out for various reasons. It's something that is a little bit awkward when someone asks, like, how many girlfriends have you had, and you say 3. You get kind of a weird look here in 2020. It's not something I'm ashamed of, but in the dating world that does typically tend to questions about why it's only 3. The fact is, I don't like to get that close to people. I don't like to have someone as a permanent in my life unless they can really meld into it, meld with my friends, connect with me on a bunch of different levels, and just not a lot of people have. Number 4 is what I rate my own appearance on the scale. You know, the scale, you rate someone, you see, oh, well, they're a 5, they're 7. I'm definitely a strong 4. I'm not the most attractive person that I've ever met, and that's something. Looks do matter in today's dating world. When you have a literal catalog of people in your phone every day of singles in your area, like on Tinder and Bumble, which I do use, it's very difficult to, I feel like settle's the wrong word, but that's kind of what it starts to feel like. And I'm guilty of it myself, of not dating people because of their appearance. That's something I'm comfortable with admitting, because beauty is independent to the person. Like, just because I would rate you as a certain number, that in no way means that you are a certain number. Everyone is beautiful. It's okay to have preferences. And it's okay to not want to date someone because you're not into them based on their appearance. Because everyone does it. Even the people that say they don't do that definitely do look at people they find less attractive and they don't date them for that reason. We're human beings. We do that. I don't know why. I'm sure there's an evolutionary reason why we do that, but I don't know it. But it's okay. You're not a horrible person for doing that, and everything is fine. But as I said, I'm a strong 4. I'm not that attractive, at least not in my opinion, and that does come into play, I feel like, as to why I'm single, but it's definitely not the most important reason. Number 5, I have lived in 5 different cities. Those would include Batesville, where I was born and raised, Russellville, where I did a semester at Arkansas Tech, Mountain Home, the best town in my opinion that I've lived in, then Paragould, which was purgatory, and now Jonesboro. And each move, each different city, I thought that would solve all of my dating issues, and I didn't put in as much effort because of those. Now, I have dated a significant person in all of those cities, aside from the current one, because I've taken that time off from dating in the time that I've moved here. It's not that important. But like I said, every time I thought that a move would solve my issues, and it never did. It's never the place that's the problem. It's always something deeper, and that's actually something I didn't really realize, or admit at least, until I started listing these items. I've always put way too much focus on the place, and it's just not going to solve your issues if that's what you're thinking. If you think you can move to Chicago or California or anywhere, even somewhere within your own state, and it's going to change anything, I promise it's not. Take it from me, I'm kind of an expert on that. It's not going to help. 6 friends that I chose over the only girl that I've ever, in my opinion, actually loved. I've told all of my big 3 relationships that I did, but there was only one that I feel like was fully honest, that I was honest about that at the time we grew apart. And there were a lot of other reasons, but one of the major concerns was that she wanted me to choose her more than my best friends, and that's totally understandable. You absolutely should. And if you can't, then she or he, or they're probably not the one for you, and that's okay. It's totally fine. But that's something you need to realize, that yeah, you should choose your significant other over the other people, but they should never ask you to, and you should never refuse to. It's just a question that shouldn't come up. If it does, then it's not the right one, and you should definitely move on, in my opinion. And that leaves us at 7. 7 is my number. Why is 7 my number? Why do I pick it for everything? Because I'm weird. And at the end of the day, people don't generally like weird. They're gonna say that it's fine if you're a strange human being, but I'm sitting here in my room. I spent the day making this new set to make these videos that no one really watches, in the hopes that someone will watch them and get inspired and do their own thing. And that's pretty weird. I've started in my dating life just being upfront with my creative decisions, telling people that I've been making these blogs. I've added the pictures as the thumbnails of the videos as my dating profile pictures, and I get a few questions here and there. But the weird thing is that it did lead to an increase in my online matches, but the conversations are much shorter and lead to much, much less. I guess when I tell them that it's a vlog I make, I don't know, they're just not that interested. I don't really know why. I'm sure it's a science-based thing. I'm not that worried about it. Number 8. 8 rhymes with date, which I am not good at. I am notoriously bad. I've had a date before where I never looked at the person once. I swear to God, never made eye contact, never even looked at them, because I was so nervous. I was much younger at the time, and I was so nervous that I never actually looked. And that's pretty important on a date. I've grown up a little since then, but I feel like not that much has changed. I'm still very awkward. I don't transition through conversations well. I never talk about myself, and I avoid a lot of the hard questions, like the ones I'm trying to get through right now, the ones I'm figuring out myself. I'm an awkward person. You can tell from these videos that this is pretty much me in real life, is how awkward I am when I try and string together sentences. It doesn't always connect well, and I always try and be more impressive than I actually am. I spend too much time telling stories that I think are great. They're some of my favorite stories of all time. But others that weren't there don't necessarily find them as interesting as I do. And I get excited. And apparently sometimes I get too loud when I'm on dates and we're in Cheddar's, which is hard to hear anyway. And I get excited about, say, George Washington and go on a rant. And then she chastises me because I was too loud. And then we spend the next 30 minutes arguing about something I sent in a text because she's going through my phone. It's unimportant. But I think that when I meet the right person, it won't be so difficult. I won't be so awkward. I'm hoping that I can find that one day. It's pretty rare. It's happened a couple times. A couple of those were the aforementioned big 3 there. But it's very rare on these almost blind dates. That's almost what every date is like for me these days. But it's something I am working on, and we'll see how that goes. And 9. There are 9 letters in the word confident, which I am not. Not a confident person. I feel like that's come across when talking about my appearance, how I am on dates. I don't think very highly of myself. I talk poorly of myself, my appearance, my ideas. Some of that is learned through my interactions with other people. Some of it's just because I'm just hard on myself. Everyone always tells me I do great. Everyone always tells me these videos are getting better, though I don't really see it. It's just something I have to take. I have to take my friend's word on that kind of thing because they do love me, and honestly, if they're bad, they're going to tell me. My first video, everyone, in a nice way, they told me it was pretty terrible. I got criticized for the way I was slouched in the corner because it was terrible. I was slouched in a corner, nothing in the background, no microphone, the audio was abysmal. But I took their advice because it was constructive and I built upon it, and that's something I'm trying to do more and more. So when someone tells me something good about me, I'm trying to believe it, and that's a big reason why I'm making these videos is to help build my confidence. I don't know if it's working yet. I guess I'll find out. I plan on being more active in the dating scene again since I took 2019 off of dating completely to work on myself. We'll see if that's something that I've actually improved on. And finally, we're at number 10. It's been 10 years. 10 years since a little over 10 years since I actually had my first kiss. It's not something I often talk about. I was 17 at that time, and I hadn't actually kissed a girl yet, but I did when I was 17. She was not great, but then not too long after, I started dating who would become my first serious girlfriend. It was a little while. I guess it was more closer to 9, but we're going to round up to 10 because it works for the number, and I like 10. But 10 years since I started dating her, and I'm kind of just tired. I'm really tired because I've always felt like a part of me was missing, and I'm always trying to find that part, which is a reason I took that year off, but I don't think it actually helped with that. I still feel like I'm not as great as I could be. I have no one in my darkest hours that I feel comfortable going to in that way that I feel like can really help pull me out of those spots that I get in from time to time. I talked a little bit about that a few weeks ago. I think maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. I make videos that I don't actually put out yet, so they get kind of jumbled up. But 10 years is a long time, and I've been single for most of it for all of these reasons that I've laid out here, and a lot more that I didn't think of, or that didn't quite meet the number pattern. But that's okay because like I said, I learned a lot from just numbering these out, and I think that if you take the time to do this with what you consider to be the weaker parts in your life, I really do think it's going to help you out a lot. And you don't have to make a big video and put yourself out there in front of everyone with all of this like I have. It's a little bit extreme, but it's something I really wanted to do because I hope that it helps you kind of figure out yourself. I hope it's something you can use. I'm thinking about turning this into a series and doing it with more parts of my life, but I have to think about that more because this was hard enough to do anyway. I don't know if it's coming across that I'm a bit more nervous than usual making this video because these are very personal things that I'm willing to put out there if they help you to do better and make your life better. So yeah, it's a great idea to take time to examine your life from time to time in a fun way, and maybe you can take this black and white image of who you are and turning it, like, just turn it into something that's colorful and artistic. You can take your pointless life and turn it into an art form. It's never all lost. There's always hope. And you're amazing, and you can do anything. And thank you for watching from 0 to 10. As awkward and painful as it may have been, I had issues with my lighting. I didn't turn it on. My clicker's not been working super great, but we got through it. And I hope you learned something, and I'll talk to you next week.